Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick. I support women to bloom in midlife. I'm your host of Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. What is the awakening? This is the moment in time when humanity rises up out of the darkness. Who is awakening? Each one of us present on Earth today, reclaiming our sovereignty, seeking greater possibilities in our reality and looking for solutions. We know being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If we can transform ourselves, we can change the world. Guests on Her Conversations will speak to your spirituality, sensuality and soul. Listen to their stories and hear how they are in service to the world. Let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. Before this episode, I invite you to download my midlife meditation, which is created to remind you that your life is a precious gift and reaching midlife is a milestone worth celebrating and marking the start of an exciting new chapter. Also, tune into Her Inspirations, which is the sister podcast to this title. In each solo episode, I inspire midlife women to recognize and embrace the wisdom of their experience and see this season of life as the most free and fruitful. Midlife is your time to bloom. All the links are in the show notes. My guest this week is Sharleen Linton. She is the founder of the She Speaks Network, which helps women to double their income using their voice for communication, sales, marketing, public speaking, and singing. During our conversation, Sharleen shares the lessons she has learned from her experience as an in-demand session singer to guiding clients to embrace their value and overcome the fear of what other people think. So as always, I begin by asking my guest, Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel that higher energetic resonance?
I always feel that higher energetic resonance when I lean into stillness. There's something about stillness and the audacity of stillness that gives you really great boundaries so that you're not rushing, so that you're not feeling pressured to constantly do. And it creates this wonderful relaxation and surrender in the body and in the voice. And I always tell my clients that when you speak, speak with a soft belly, because that's the real tell of stillness and presence. And so I really believe that that higher energetic resonance is her. It's the true feminine. It's like moving almost like molasses. I think that is the real privilege of being a woman.
I love that. And I love that audacity of stillness. And we're going to come back to that because that can't go unchecked. Absolutely not. So before we go further on into the conversation, Sharleen, just, tell everybody your background, who you are, work that you're doing right now.
So thanks so much for having me. I'm Sharleen, the vocal alchemist. And my real joy is to help you have a voice that commands so much respect and attention that you double your income. So I teach singers, I teach public speakers, business owners, content creators to really have a voice that arrests the marketplace, that really owns the room, that takes up space. And you can do that without increasing your volume or trying to be an attention seeker. You can draw people into you if you're an introvert, and you can send your voice out if you're an extrovert. So my work is really about what is that thing that's already within you that we can amplify, that will really command a room and the marketplace so that you can negotiate more money in your contract and so that you can increase your prices and create clients at that new price.
Great stuff. I love that. Thank you. So before we go forward, I want to go back. I like what you were saying before about the audacity of stillness, um, because I'm so much about stillness and silence. And as an introvert, I really understand the power and the cleansing and what can be created in that stillness, and it is always surprising to me that people have so much discomfort around stillness and silence. So when you're bringing that to your clients and you're inviting them to explore stillness and silence, what do they come up against, and how do you guide them through that?
It's an interesting question because if I'm being honest, I also used to have a lot of discomfort around stillness. There is something about our society where the default is about always being on the move. And the more proximity you have to a city, whether that's New York, London, or any other busy metropolis, is the more that there is this pull to keep moving forward and to keep doing. And what I've noticed is that there are these things called pacemakers. So you'll see an Olympic race, a cross-country race, or a 10,000-meter race. And you will see these pacemakers set in and amongst the other athletes. Their job is to set the tone of the race. We also have pacemakers in society about what we should be doing at a certain time, how quickly we should be doing it. And this is outside of even the deadlines that you have. All of these pacemakers actually exist in our own minds. Some of them is the voice of our own mothers. Some of them is manifest in the form of our dad telling us that we're lazy or we are irresponsible. There are some pacemakers in our minds that are causing us to speed up and to completely bypass stillness to the point where stillness actually feels dangerous. It feels anti-productive and it's scary because it's unknown. And so before I lead clients anywhere, I had to lead myself. And what I started to do, and this is for anybody listening, if you would like to become more still, what really motivated me to become more still is to associate stillness with pleasure. Pleasure is one of my values, and I find pleasure in staring out of the window and drinking a cup of tea. I associate stillness with pleasure because I enjoy the feeling of relaxation in my body. When I'm doing a talk or any sort of live stream, I like that feeling of relaxation, even when the entire world might be watching me. And so that association helps me to not bypass it. Because in bypassing stillness, I'm now bypassing one of my core values. And so that brings me back to stillness. So it's not just you should be still and we need to be doing this as spiritual people. What is the value that you can attach to the thing that you want that is core within you that will help you to not bypass it? Because in bypassing stillness, you will bypass yourself. So that is what I would say about that.
Mm, mm, mm. And in getting to know yourself, so maybe it is that, because I would say in my own silence, in my own stillness the was confronting myself. And some of it's great, and some of it not so much, The part where you're just like, okay, well, maybe I can call someone, I can watch something, or I
Yeah.
can, do the things and all of that. But like you're saying, it's like getting to be with yourself.
Mhm.
From my own personal knowledge of that as well. And also, interestingly, what you said about London as well, because now I live, well, they've extended London. London just keeps rolling out. I thought I'd left London. I really did. And then it's actually, no, you're just in a far off zone. So it's still kind of
Right.
London, but it doesn't, the buses are still red. We've still got the road tax, all that kind of stuff. In my mind, it's not London because I used to live right in London. I was like zone two, zone three, anything further out is like that's not London. So I know what London feels like. And now having
Mhm.
moved to the edges of London where things are a little bit calmer, it still has a bit of it, but it's a little bit calmer. I do feel it when I go back in for a day and you're just like, whoa, slow
Yes.
down, people. And it was interesting when I'd moved away and I hadn't really been for a good few months. And it was interesting because it took me a while to slow down to where I was. Just
Mhm.
walking around going, what do you mean there's not a Pret on every corner? Like, where am I? Like, how am I going to survive? You have to kind of take away all of these things because, like, London has you on all the time.
Mhm.
But then like going back into the city and kind of landing straight in there because the train will take me right into Victoria. So you're right in Victoria. Everyone's moving, running all different ways.
Mhm.
And some of the things I noticed as well, not just about the movement and people's just moving around and keeping themselves moving, was how much London advertised itself back to itself.
Mm.
It was like, oh, you can do this in London, you can do that in London. Here's that, and I was like, isn't that interesting? Because I'm in London, but it's almost like you're advertising the things that I can do. You're
Mm.
advertising the trains. I know you have to kind of pass on information, but there was this bizarre kind of like almost like this. I was witnessing it from a completely different point of view that I'd never seen because once you're in it and it has this energy that keeps you going that you feel that you can't leave because something's going to happen and you won't notice it.
Mhm.
But with all of that, with all of us kind of keeping ourselves going, we don't notice what we don't notice. So we're always being told that this is great, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's fast, you're disconnected from yourself, don't worry about that, you can go and do this, you can go and see that, don't worry about, oh, here's a park, but then come back
Mhm.
again. So it was always like
Mhm.
telling you about itself in a way
Mhm.
that I was like, I'd never noticed that before. It was an
Yes.
interesting observation to me as well. And what I like is to be able to go in and then go, oh, I'm going to go and
Mm.
leave and be out because in the time that I spent away from being in those central zones and finding where my level was, where my set point was, I realized how for 20 odd years I'd been on a different gear. It wasn't even my gear.
Mhm.
And so to come back and to find calm and to go through all of the things that you have to do to then also find who am I going to be in this new space where I'm not running at 100 miles an hour? Who am
Yeah.
I at 40
Yeah.
without having to talk all the time? And then
Mm.
you realize you can actually, there's a bit more space for you to be you because when you're in that constant hustle and bustle, and I don't know if you've ever heard this about the fact that our brains are not wired to know so many people. We're only wired to know maybe 150 at max. So one of the things
Yes.
I find about people is when they're in the city, you're like, oh, everyone's rude. They're not paying attention to each other. It's just like your brain cannot focus on so many things. You
Yeah.
can't create meaningful connections on that level. You have to filter out so much of it so
Mhm.
that you can just survive. And that's why we're on this kind of heightened level of paying attention to certain things but spending more energy actually filtering out stuff. And sometimes I believe in thinking about that more, that you end up filtering out a lot of yourself in order
Mhm.
just to kind of stay in that um energy. These are things that I kind of notice in myself and my perception of the city, just moving out from it and then finding a new balance of like, actually, I work better when I'm here, not so much
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Mm,
And going back to the audacity of stillness,
mm,
the audaciousness is to remove yourself energetically,
mm,
even if you can't remove yourself in terms of location and proximity.
mm,
The audaciousness to say, I'm not going to begin my day worrying about my to-do list or picking up my phone.
Mm.
What I started to do, practically speaking, was either turning my phone off for hours at a time or leaving my phone in a different room. And I noticed how much happier I was, Carol. So happy. I was focused on one thing. If it wasn't silence, I was watching the TV rather than watching the TV and scrolling my phone, missing what the thing has said on the TV, rewinding it because I didn't catch it the first time, and then declaring myself bored. Honestly, these practices have really flown out of my real desire of how I want to feel.
Mm.
And I set a standard for my emotional state. This is my standard. So I know when I'm not in it. And I know that when I'm not in it, I can always get back to it. And that is the audacity.
Mm. 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 There was something I found out about yesterday. You're talking about being on the phone and watching television at the same time. That, and if this is the official term, it's called double screening. That have you heard this one? Where
No.
so there's this article that I was reading, and it's about the fact that more TV and kind of Netflix and platforms, streaming platforms, realize that people don't pay 100% attention to things anymore
Oof.
because they're like they're watching this and they're kind of checking that and looking at that and eating probably, you know, the mind is all over the place. So in order to accommodate that, if you go back and watch TV programs from 80s, 90s, before that, you know, they used to have a lot of intricacy in the story. So
Mhm.
you build a character, there'd be more, and you'd need to pay attention in order to follow the
Mhm.
plot line.
Mhm.
Whereas it seems that because they're more aware of people doing this double screening thing, that they
Mhm.
simplified
Mhm.
the main program. So
Oh my God.
you don't even have to be there, you know,
Oh my
because
God.
they've simplified it to the point that you don't have to be there because you're not there anyway. You're like, oh, like who said so and so one thing, or they know that if they put enough there and you're interested, you're gonna go online and you're gonna try and search it out. You know, so it's simplified to a level that if you want a bit more information, you will do the work. If not, you can just sit there and just get, you know, basic level in the dumbing down of all of
Wow.
us. Yeah. So apparently this is a thing, you know, and obviously they're constantly creating content for people. They have to be aware of how people are receiving the content. So if
Mm.
you're recognizing that if you put things that are out a bit too intricate out there, the audience won't receive it because they're not paying attention. That you have to create this. Anyway, I just wanted to add on to that. However, there's a reason that I'm going to kind of segue into getting attention, because when it comes to using our voices
Mhm.
and making an impact, it is about being able to grab attention, particularly if you're talking to people who are content creators, or especially now that more and more connections are happening internationally and online in kind of things like this, Teams and Zooms and everything like that. So, how are you guiding people to own that space? And especially if we're not, let's talk about the digital space first,
Yeah.
because that's where more people are at the moment. That's where more people are making connections. You're on a screen, you're going to be like, I don't know, centimeters tall. How can you pull out from the noise if you're putting content out there or you're a screen on a Zoom screen?
Mhm.
How do you kind of get the attention? I don't like get is not really the word that I want to
Mhm.
say. You know, I want to like command the attention, bring
Mhm.
it through to people when you're appearing to them as a 2D avatar,
Mhm.
which interestingly I found was difficult for people to lip read because they don't have that 3D
Right.
representation of it as well. So how do you attract? How do you draw in? How do you connect with people when you're just an avatar of yourself, really?
This question is so juicy, my mouth started to water. Started to legit salivate. I just want the viewers to be aware.
Bite into it then. Go on.
Let me say this.
Mm.
In order to command attention in a room, you need to pay attention to the value that your voice holds. You need to treat yourself and your voice with so much respect to understand that every syllable that you utter changes the energetic landscape of that space.
Yeah.
Whether it's that social media platform, whether it is the boardroom, whether it's that Teams meeting, your voice carries so much weight. It will alter the trajectory of the people who are listening to you. And so when you pay yourself this much attention and this much respect, it overflows into the room.
Mm.
And so the real crux here is to stop trying to get your audience to do anything. You do it for yourself.
Mm.
You're the leader. You go first. Let them take care of themselves. And it's the parable of the popular girl. The popular girl doesn't care whether she's popular or not. That is the reason why she is popular. The parable of the powerful speaker is that you don't care how others perceive your power, whether they believe you have power or not. You are too busy holding the certainty of your power, and that converts. That's the irony, and that's the parable. And so you are not just an avatar on a screen. You are the changing face of Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. And anyone that deigns to scroll to your content will forever be changed. But you have to own it. You are not just one of many. You are one of one. Period. And that's how you do that.
Mm-mm-mm. How are you inviting people to discover that about themselves when the world is just full of all the reasons why they should not be that, and they're having to walk through their own, yeah, but I've only got this many followers. Nobody likes my stuff, like especially the kind of the vanity metrics of
Yes.
social media, because I know, like, if I just went on likes and all of that kind of stuff, I'd be like, man, it's not happening. People reach out to me to work with me anyway,
Yes.
regardless. I just keep the thing going. I might move here and I might kind of change this up and everything like that and go, I want to do more YouTube, I want to do more video. But ultimately the core of it's not changed, really. It's interesting to see how those numbers can really play with people's minds.
Mhm.
So invite them into their own power, give them a roadmap.
There was something that you were leading with. There was a question right at the beginning. Do you mind repeating it? Because I feel like that is going to open up some real great things here. You were asking about how to, yes,
Invite
you are.
people into their power.
Yeah. I walk my clients through this process called gold mining. Gold mining is going into your cave of achievements, wonder, character traits, amazingness, gold, diamonds of you, and pull those things out.
Mm.
For some of you listening, your gold is in the things that you actually take for granted about yourself. You've been told that you're a great cook or a great host, and you're like, oh, I've just always been like that. And you don't see how that helps you to be a great manager. You don't make that connection until I walk you through the gold mining process. And so take nothing about who you are for granted. I started to purposefully remember over the past year all the things that I have done, the superstars that I have worked with, and the rooms that I have been in. For those of you who don't know me, my background is actually in music. And I have worked with diamond and platinum selling artists, people like Coldplay, Adele, John Legend, Smokey Robinson. And there were stories and experiences that I have had that I was not talking about. Why? Because I took it for granted and I normalized it. And it is not normal to sing a duet with Smokey. It is not. It is not normal to be on stage with Coldplay at Glastonbury. This is not normal.
It's not normal for you. It's not normal for me to be lying there going, "That's Sharleen, and that's the Oscars," and she's standing behind Adele. It's not normal. Yeah,
It's not.
exactly. It's extraordinary. Yeah.
Right. And I came from an industry where everything's normalized because everyone's doing it. All of my singer friends are singing with superstars on the biggest platforms in the entire world. And it would be seen as unprofessional to do something that is called clanging, which is about talking about the things that you do. It's seen as bragging. And so I entered into into business from the music industry on mute. No, ma'am, this is gold. And so I always like to lead my clients in the spaces and places that I'm willing to go. So I started to gold mine. Listen, I have so many more stories to tell. And every time I feel like I've run out of stories, I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Tom Cruise the other day, and that's a story. And so what I guide my clients to do, even if it seems to be mundane to them, is the gold of who they naturally are and what that helps them to do in the marketplace and at work. So you've been told off for your mouth when you were young. You were told that you talk too much. You were told that you get too much in a people's business. And now you're in a role that requires excellent customer service. It requires you to be chatty with people at the reception desk. It requires you to be genuinely interested in people because you are a natural people person. Who knew that the 4-year-old that got told to be quiet and the 7-year-old that got told to shh is now the person that is the most qualified to head a department, to lead a team? This is what gold mining is. And so when you gold mine, you find all of these gems and diamonds about yourself. And that is when you start to really internalize, my voice, if I speak, it's going to change everything. And you start to own what you have experienced and who you are with so much certainty and solidity that it inspires people to trust you and bypass your metrics. Because really, who cares? I've had people hire me and pay high ticket prices off of hearing me on Clubhouse one time. According to the world, that app is not really doing its thing and it's past its heyday. So why do I still keep getting hired? Oh, it takes people several touches to like, know, and trust you. So why are they hiring me after the one time they've heard me? Who hands over 5 figures to people that they've just met on a social media app? This is what happens when you own the power of you. You bypass metrics, all of those how-tos on how to do a thing. You're now kind of breaking the rules. And you're like, how did that happen? Because you stopped listening and you started to really listen and acknowledge all of the gold. Like, my goodness. Some of you, I'm really feeling to bring this in. I started to deliberately keep my nails long and to keep them manicured. Whenever I look at my nails, they're red right now. It reminds me to slow down. It reminds me that if I speed up, I might break a nail. To the world, that might sound really frivolous and trivial, but let me tell you something. That slowing down helps my belly to remain soft. That belly remaining soft helps me to be in my body and not in my head. Being in my body and not in my head influences the pitch and the tone of my voice. The pitch and the tone of my voice gets slightly deeper, the tone gets slightly rounder, and now I have your attention, ma'am. Do you see how the mundane impacts the significant? Which means nothing is mundane. Nothing about how you hold yourself, how you see yourself is mundane. It is all significant. It all matters.
Gold. Thank you. Look, nails are beautiful. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Um, when you were talking as well, I wanted to talk about um what popped in and when we touched base before as well, like frequency in people's voices and what that person would have heard from you because and I think that's what's more powerful is the fact that Clubhouse, as I remember it, is just strictly audio, right? So it's not gone. So you've got nothing to distract you. You know, they wouldn't have seen your beautiful nails. They wouldn't have seen your face or your
Right.
hair or anything like that. So they can't kind of be distracted by any visuals.
Mhm.
Um, so it's all about frequency and also as well as thinking well it's going to be coming out of your phone, so it's not going to be like even the hottest quality anyway,
Mhm.
but there's going to be something that's going to come, that resonance that is going to be a match to them, that is going to for them to have the confidence knowing that, oh, this is, you know, this is 5 figures worth of investment that's
Mhm.
I'm just going to go and do it, because people don't part with their money easily unless they really feel that there's going to be some value on the other side of that. So you've tapped in, or you're able to transmit the frequency of your voice through Clubhouse
Mhm.
and get that response and get that connection that people feel and that people um, relate to and know that they're going to get value
Mhm.
from whatever it is that you're saying. And I don't know to what extent you even talked about the work that you could do for them, but it would have, they would have found a trust in it
Mhm.
just by listening to you. They would have been like, I trust this person. You know, we always talk about this know, like, and trust with all the
Mhm.
touches and everything like that, but they would
Mhm.
have found that almost instantly from your voice. And in a world where there's so many voices coming at us,
Mhm.
how what are people needing to find the truth of themselves to be able to connect with the truth of others? Because they're where we're moving right now in a world, there are so many voices and then so many manipulations of voices now that we're going to have more and more of this AI, which is getting almost undetectable if you don't have the ear for it. And even in music as well, it seems that very few people are even going out there live, which is shocking. No,
Mhm.
like, but then people don't realize that what they're listening to is a manipulation that isn't even real. The human voice wouldn't do that. The human voice has these beautiful nuances, and you would call them imperfections, but they're nuances that mean that everything that you do just has something about it that's real. And yet that seems to be almost like the ear doesn't want to hear that anymore,
Mhm.
or it's been ironed out, cleaned out. So there's this sterile perfection that
Mhm.
people are leaning into and expecting, so that there's a generation that I'm wondering, will they ever get to hear real, especially
Mm,
with the amount of time that they spend online, and they just came, right out of right out of one world into another world and straight into that digital matrix and that perfection of things that are getting tuned. So they don't know real, they don't know stillness, they probably don't know boredom,
mm,
all of the things that kind of trigger us to create and find things to do.
mm.
They're being moved away from that. How can we maintain humanity in a world that probably doesn't recognize it anymore or doesn't know it for themselves, let alone, or would hear a human voice and be like, oh, it doesn't sound right, or the note's a bit off, or if someone's singing or talking, the perfection that's kind of being carved for us and honed for us takes us so far away from the nuance of those little things that you can't replicate and usually get ironed out and cleaned out and tweaked off. And
I think that the perfection that you've depicted is actually going to vomit people out. People are going to want more connection. We are in an epidemic of loneliness right now, much less in generations to come. And that perfection will vomit people out because people need connection. It's a basic human need to be able to connect with a voice, a real person, 3D human flesh, because it's who we are. And whilst the world will get quicker because AI helps us to do things so much quicker than we used to, there are going to be people that are crying out for touch, crying out for conversation, and they may not know it, but they will want it. I think even in places like Japan, it's become a thing to have dinner with a stranger over video call. You may not even talk, but just to eat with somebody. It might not be in 3D, but it's human to human contact. This is where we are right now, much less in generations to come. You cannot fake the energetics of a voice using AI. It is impossible. We crave it, we need it. And in fact, the more still you get is the more that you want it.
for me as well, the more that I've got into my own stillness and silence and who is Carol and what has she been through, and especially when you were talking about gold mining and things that you just take for granted. Um, it's interesting. One of the things that people will always comment about when they meet me or they listen to the podcast, like, oh, your voice, just my speaking voice, not even talking about singing, but your voice. And it's the very thing, like you'd say before, that I used to get so much flack for when I was younger. Speak up, no man. Would you say, like, so,
Mm.
because my voice was so soft,
Mhm.
and it used to really get this, like, speak up. What are you saying? Like, bring it up as well. And granted, before I had some training, my voice was disconnected. It really was kind of all in my head and really not connected to anything. So I did get to the point where I was able to really embody the vibration of my voice, but it didn't really change so much about the tone of it, for
Mhm.
me anyway, not so much externally. I know if I think about the first time that I worked with someone and it really got me to connect with the vibration of my voice, so I started to feel my voice from here, not just from here, because that's kind of where it used to be all the time. They're just up here as well. And even when I try and bring it back up there as well, I start to feel like, oh my gosh, feel like levels of like disconnection, like almost anxiety when I'm trying to do this kind of light, sweet voice. But it was there for a while.
Mm.
Um, but when I was able to bring it down in my body, but still not lose it, so it was never going to be like gruff and loud and demanding or anything like that. um, it was a shock to me initially, that first time of like hearing and feeling that vibration of my voice going through my chest, it going all the way through my body, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is my voice, and
Yeah.
it was big to me, even though outside it probably didn't get any louder or any bigger.
Mhm.
And which is why I enjoy the resonance of my own voice when I feel it just going through. That's why I enjoy talking.
Mhm.
Because it's actually quite warming. It's almost like I've got a cat on my own chest that's purring. You get that sound. I get that from my own voice now because of where I've found in it, so that I know that when I do public speaking things as well, my voice still doesn't get any louder really, but but I get that sense and I get that feedback of, oh my God, what do you do? And I have to remind myself. It was like you said, going back and just getting to know who I was and finding the gold mine and realizing that I was doing it all the time. And this is how I talk, and this is where I'm from, and this is why I don't get all over the place when I'm standing up there, because I feel rooted. I know what it is to feel like, where am I? Where are my feet? Where are my toes? Where's
Mhm.
everything? And I plant myself there, and then
Mhm.
we go. And it feels home as
Yeah.
well. And but I also feel for people who I see struggle in those situations, because I know that they're flying around all over the place and they're thinking about what all the other people might be thinking about them. And people spend less time thinking about us than we do. And I think we need to get into that, realizing most people are thinking about their own stuff more than they're thinking about you. And even if they say that something related to you, they're going to very quickly go back to their own self-absorption.
Yeah.
It's not so much about what you
Can I
think.
say something on that?
Mm,
Because this thing about being anxious and afraid of what people will think about you when you are doing things like public speaking is absolutely huge. And I
mm,
really want to give a really juicy nugget about that because I've noticed something about human consciousness and the way the mind thinks. In order to achieve something in your mind, you have to give the mind something else in place of what it already has. So people just say, oh, just you can't care about what people think. That's not really going to work. You have to give the mind something else.
mm,
So, what I would say is, how does it feel to value yourself and the things that you have to say? Now, think about how does it feel to value the audience and what they think and might have to say? When you feel into those two questions, you will feel certain things about the first question and the second question. Which feeling state do you prefer? Now replace what you don't want with what you actually do want. Because when you think about where the words are coming from in terms of what you're saying, the sacrifice that you've made to know the things that you know, the work that you've put into to have this organized presentation, the experience that you have, which is gold, the vessel that you are, that your words are coming through. When you deeply appreciate those things, the mind switches off from valuing the external to valuing the internal. Now that's all you have space for. The mind is literally like a light switch.
mm,
There's the love category and channel, and then there's the fear channel. And you can switch off and you can toggle back and forth. But where do you value being? Because when you are afraid of how people perceive you, it feels scattered. There's the anxiety. It's like you kind of don't really belong anywhere. You could belong anywhere. It's like you don't really have a sense of place. What you feel about yourself is now up to other people. And when you bring it back to, no, I value me. Now we can talk, because that is the start of the conversation around how much you deeply respect and are willing to give yourself the attention that you deserve. And it feels completely different. And like I've said, the parable of the popular girl is that she is magnetic because she doesn't care whether she is magnetic or not. She will pull you into her because she values herself, not because she values what you think about her. And this is the goal that I help my clients get to.
Tell me about She Speaks.
The She Speaks network is really a space of the most beautiful coming together of women around the world that are ready to put some respect on their voice. There is a way that you've been taught to sell that doesn't quite resonate with you. There's a way that you've been taught to speak. You've been given the technique. You've been given all of these how-tos. It doesn't quite resonate with you. In the She Speaks network, I am going to be teaching women how to express their voices as the women that they are, not who they're taught that they should be. The thing is, when you are 100% yourself, selling becomes effortless. You don't feel salesy, you don't feel inauthentic, there is no ick. And when you are speaking and you own the woman that you are, you're so powerful that it might become frightening at first. And when you collaborate and get all of that powerful energy in the same space, 1 + 1 = 111. And that is what the She Speaks network will help you to do. There are superpowers in your voice that you're not even aware of. And I'm going to be spilling the tea, honey, and giving you all of the energetic sips and deliciousness so that you can double your income, so that you can double the goal that is within you that you haven't even acknowledged, and that you can be ushered into rest even when the entire world is watching you behind a podium. It's possible, and it's happening right now, and it's a revolution.
Fantastic. Thank you so much today. Please let everybody know where they can connect with you, Sharleen. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This conversation has given me chills. And this is also how you know that you are in a space of deep respect. If you can give yourself chills, honey, you're going to give the audience chills too. So you can connect with me at speakwithmastery.com. You can send me a message there on that platform. I am most prolific on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Sharleen the Vocal Alchemist. But I would go to speakwithmastery.com. You can find out everything about what I offer and all of that good stuff. Send me a message, talk to me. I also have free spaces on Telegram where you can connect with other people. So yeah, get involved.
Perfect conversation. Thank you so much, Sharleen. Loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharleen, for sharing your wisdom with me, and thank you for listening. If you got value for this, I encourage you to share this episode with somebody who you feel will benefit from the wisdom of my guest, and also to leave a review. If you want to find out more about me, head on over to my website. It's carolmaywhittick.com, carolmaywhittick.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook under Carol May Whittick, and on Threads and Instagram as Casmic, Cazmick. So until the next episode, take care. Bye-bye.